you're an online business, you're going to live from reviews and you're going to die from reviews.
Welcome to Honest Ecommerce, a podcast dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running a direct-to-consumer brand does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. On this podcast, we interview founders and experts who are putting in the work and creating real results. I also share my own insights from running our top Shopify consultancy, Electric Eye. We cut the fluff in favor of facts to help you grow your e-commerce business. Let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest Ecommerce. I've got a fun one today. The co-founder and CEO of Jijamas, Gustavo Sanchez, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here, man.
Oh, I'm excited. So for those that are unfamiliar with the brand, can you quickly just give them an idea of what the products are that you guys are selling?
Sure. We sell the softest pajamas known to mankind, basically.
Ooh.
It's a brand of incredibly soft pajamas made from the same soft cotton used in high-end pajamas for newborns.
Awesome.
So that's kind of our concept that we can go into. But newborn pajamas are the epitome of softness, and we use the same materials in ours, but they're for adults.
Awesome. Well, take me back in time. Where'd the idea for this product come from?
It was an aha moment that I had, but it was after a process, kind of. So I was working in the corporate world, and I figured out that I didn't want to do that for the next 15 or 20 years of my life. And so I had a personal objective of setting up a business, but I didn't know what it was at the time. I was really interested in e-commerce that I had touched upon in the corporate world. And it also had to be something that I really like to do, because otherwise, why would I leave something that, for something that I don't like? And so I had an advantage, I think, a competitive advantage, is I have deep roots in Peru, in South America. I lived there. I worked there for a number of years. And there's a whole bunch of things down there that I thought I could bring to market. I just had to identify which one it was. So I went through a process of looking at different things that are available down there. There's a lot of food products that are exported, but it kind of it was more high volume, low margin, which is an area that I didn't want to go into. I looked at a furniture business. There's a lot of good carpentry and wood down there. I spent some time and money on that, actually, but then it was more of a wholesale business that, again, I was really more interested in starting something in e-commerce. There was several things. I kind of went through my due diligence and kind of figured that they weren't it. Peru is also very good at textiles. They've had a long tradition for years. They grow incredibly good cotton down there, and that was always an option, but I didn't really feel that I had a concept or anything to sell yet. So this process kind of helped me, I think, in retrospect, identify that aha moment that came to me and made me ready to say, yes, this is the idea that I want. And the aha moment it's kind of funny, actually. So at the time we had two little ones, two little girls, probably both of them under 3 or around 2 years old. And they had the softest pajamas ever from Peru. My family would send us gifts, or when they come, they would visit, and they would give them these super high end, you touch them, you're jealous that you didn't have some of those, right? And so we would put them on. When they were ready to go to sleep, they would put them on, and it would calm them down. And my wife one day said, "Wow, I wish I had pajamas like these." And that rang a bell immediately. I said, "But what do you mean? Why don't you just go and get some?" She goes, "Well, there's nothing this soft out there available. And if there are, they're in designs that I don't really, they're farty designs that I'm not really interested in." So that really, I stayed kind of quiet, and I just started over the next couple of days just observing her. And we were both working in the corporate world, and I got home before her. My commute was shorter. And when she would come home, the first thing she would always do is say hi to the girls and then go upstairs and get changed into something more comfortable. It's usually sweatpants and a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or something. And then I started researching the sleep category, and she was right. There wasn't really anything made from this incredibly soft Pima cotton at the time, right? And if there was anything decent, I know the designs were something that she wouldn't wear. They were really pajama-y, She wouldn't want anybody to see. It's like people still come over at that time. They ring the doorbell, the neighbor, you take the dog out, whatever. You don't want people to see you in pajamas. And so that was the origin of Jijamas. Like the same sleepwear, the same cotton used in high-end pajamas for newborns, but for adults in designs that you would actually want to wear, you know? And the name was funny too, because it's my youngest couldn't pronounce pajamas. She would say, "Hey, can I put my Jijamas on?" So that's where that I immediately trademarked the name. And then I was the next step of focusing where to get this done.
Awesome. Well, first, I just really want to highlight two things you did there that I think our listeners would be interested in. And like, we've got listeners kind of all over the place and spectrum with where they are in their career. And I know there's a lot of people out there that like want to break into e-commerce, as you said, like that you wanted to for a while. And I think that the idea of looking at other markets outside of America and see what's trending there for inspiration is something no one's really specifically touched on like you just did. So there's something for kind of the listeners to take away. But then also, I always like the honesty behind taking an idea that exists and just tweaking it a little bit and making it just that much better is how you can make a lot of money, to be honest. It's a very proven strategy.
Exactly. I think a lot of young entrepreneurs, when I talk with them, because I every once in a while I'll mentor somebody, and there's like the thought that they have to be the next Zuckerberg.
Oh my gosh, I know.
When you just like a nice fat niche is all you need to make some good money, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be something that's going to revolutionize the world. It's just something that you could do and do better than others and make it happen.
There are so many blue collar millionaires that have just built a landscaping company over the summers in colleges and sold it and just live life.
Exactly.
And it's not a hard business model. It's just do it better than everyone else.
Exactly.
So you have this awesome idea, a fantastic name. Does your daughter get trademark rights on that name?
She hasn't asked for it yet. She, I hope, so no, she doesn't.
Awesome. Well, hopefully she doesn't find this episode when she gets ready to go to college and asks for that tuition. All right. So you got this great name. You got this product idea. What's the next step? How do you go from this idea to a product?
So I knew I could do textiles in Peru. I started researching like crazy. And then I tapped into my network down there. I called a buddy who works in the textile industry, and I identified like 5 companies that I thought would be a good fit for me. And we went through them, and he was like, we reduced it to 3. Got on a plane, went down, and this is when I figured out that I really knew nothing about the textile industry. And so I had several designs that I wanted to produce, and so I visited one company. I don't even remember what happened. It was like nothing, I guess. Another one kind of told me, "Hey, when you're bigger, come back. We're not gonna deal with somebody that's just starting." And then the third one was great, and the owner who received me, who I met with, kind of, I said, "Hey, I need a blue," just to simplify, I need a blue pajama, a striped pajama, a pink one, and a green one. And I showed her the designs that I had, and I said, I want like 300 of each. And, she was kind of laughing. She said, "Look, that's not how it works. There's this thing called minimum order quantities that you have to, reach. And so what you have to do is you have to combine. So why don't you just use 2 colors? The blue's on the top of one. It's on the pants on the bottom. You make a short set, short sleeve with shorts on another one, maybe a little dress. It's all the same fabric. You reach the minimum order quantities and off you are. Right? So I established a relationship with her, and that was quite a bit ago, and we've been great together. We've grown together.
It's interesting that you bring up those minimum order quantities, MLQs, right? Isn't that what they call them?
Yep.
Yeah. So
MLQs.
And the businesses out there that will educate an entrepreneur on the things that they don't know, and it's more a consultative of like sales approach, they're always the ones that win the business versus, there's always these curmudgeons that own these giant factories that are just like set in their ways.
Yeah. So it's important like to have options. Like I'm glad I went, I visited 3. I did my homework before that. So, and I had thought like of size and, if they were too big. I really didn't even visit the ginormous ones, And so off we went. We started. I was still working. So that's another thing I think for a young entrepreneur. I just couldn't quit my job and do this. I didn't even know if it worked,
Mm-hmm.
And so this was all on a side hustle,
Yeah, we'll get to when you did quit your job, and that'll be a future part of this conversation. So
my objective, my short-term objective was twofold. One, prove the concept. Like, does this resonate with people? Can I sell it at the price I want to sell it at? And then second is like the whole supply chain, right? From production to shipping to getting it here in my basement originally, and then out the door, and how can I make it work, right? And so I did that for, I don't know, 3 years, probably 2.5, 3 years. I only produced once a year. I wasn't following the fashion cycle yet at the time. And probably around year 3, I was starting to get excited because I felt like I had a concept that was proven, particularly because I got a lot of repeat business.
Mm-hmm.
And so still small, sat with my wife and said, hey, I have something here. Like, if I don't give it 100% of the time, it's never going to be anything. So I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to focus on this. And she was involved in the business too, by the way. I can comment on that in a little bit. She's one of the co-founders with me. We did it, we took that jump, and I was really focused on making it profitable, because again, there's another conversation to be had with young entrepreneurs on how, like, do you want to be profitable off the bat, or do you want to scale unprofitably to sell it at some point, right?
Yeah,
which a lot of people do. It's not necessarily for me at least at the point I was in my life. And so for me, it was really, how do I get it to profitability that I can start contributing again to the family income?
absolutely. Let's quickly though, that 3 years that we'll call it, where you're still have your day-to-day job and this is your side hustle, you're working on finding product market fit and finding out what resonates and what doesn't resonate with the product and your customers, I'm assuming. I know the first question I have is, how did you get these pajamas in front of people that weren't your friends and family? How did you find your first customers out there in the wild? What were you doing?
The classic, the main Google, Facebook, Instagram, influencers, PR, probably a couple other mailers, a couple other, that's the hardest part. You're right. The first collection was really family and friends, and it was good and bad, because I got feedback, but the sizing was kind of off, and it kind of stinks when you sell something to somebody that and it's not like the perfect experience. So we've another thing, you got to start at some point and then adjust, and so we adjusted from there. But to answer your question, a lot of the classic marketing tools. But at the beginning, we were only on our website. We weren't even on Amazon yet, because I got into Amazon a little later.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's another paralyzing concept for entrepreneurs, is perfection versus done.
Yeah. It's never going to be perfect. It still isn't perfect. It's never, so you just got to go and strive for as good as it can be,
Absolutely. So what was there like a milestone or like a moment going into year 3 with the momentum where you're like, this is the right time to really dive all in and give this 100%?
I don't think there was one thing. It was just sales momentum, I would say. And we got pretty decent at the classic stuff of, like, Facebook. We were acquiring customers through there. Google, we got better and better. And so I don't think it was one event. It was really just like, all right, it was really the notion of, like, if this is going to be a side hustle, then it's always going to be a side hustle. and, my fear of it not resonating with the world was kind of gone. I didn't know if I could scale it to what I wanted to, but there's only one way to find out. And so I was already profitable too, by the way. So, again, small, but I was profitable. So that made me comfortable too. I wasn't yet taking a salary. I was plowing everything back in. So it was in a good position to give it a try,
Hey there, merchant. Are you tired of trying to navigate the wild world of e-commerce on your own? Are you looking for a partner to help you achieve your goals? Look no further than the Shopify Plus agency, Electric Eye. Our team has a proven track record of helping our clients make millions with strategic design and development. Whether you're migrating from a legacy platform to Shopify, designing a new theme for your store, or just looking to optimize what you already have, Electric Eye is the perfect partner for you. Electric Eye are true Shopify experts. Not only is our Shopify knowledge unparalleled, but we have partnerships with all the best tech in the Shopify ecosystem. And don't worry, we're easy to get a hold of. Our clients rave about our fast communication. So here's the deal. If you're an e-commerce business doing over $1 million a year, you can receive a complimentary Shopify diagnostic from our team of experts. That's free, personalized, strategic recommendations to improve your store and grow your business. To get started, head on over to electriceye.io/connect to schedule an intro call with one of our experts. That's electriceye.io/connect. Do you remember kind of what your budgets were back then for paid ads? And if you want to share where they're at now, just to kind of show like the growth of where you started?
I'd like to keep my paid ads at around 20% of sales. All of everything. I don't know industry wide if that's good or bad, but it's in line with my profit expectations. And there's a lot of, it doesn't necessarily jive with a lot that you hear out there. Like, because agencies try to lure you in with, I'll give you a ROAS of 2. So if you put $1 in, you get 2 back. That's 50% of your money spent on advertising, basically. So I hope that answers your question, but it's always been around that figure. Some years I go over because of certain market conditions. Some years I'm under because of market conditions. But
no, I think that's a fantastic answer and an honest answer, especially coming from someone who you already mentioned prior. And I want to draw back to it that your aspirations with this business wasn't to build a rocket ship and scale for the sake of scale to sell it. It was to build a profitable business from day one and grow it in a way that you wanted to grow it. And I think that setting a benchmark of a percentage of gross is an easy benchmark for entrepreneurs to understand, especially when they're first getting started, that you do need to budget for marketing and advertising.
It's hard to stay true to it at the very beginning in particular, especially when you're putting money into things that, like PR, for instance, where, most times it doesn't work. And so, but on all the paid stuff, which is very measurable, at least it was a lot more measurable. It's kind of somewhat simple to stay on that track,
Absolutely. Let's talk about the growth after you decided to go all in on the business. What started to happen?
So then we started to focus on 2 collections a year. So, we only had, I'll just keep it simple, but we only had like long sleeves. And so now we brought in things for summer. We expanded to robes and nightgowns, and we brought men products in. I tried Europe, Amazon. I think we should probably talk about Amazon. So the first couple of years, it was just entirely my website, hosted on Shopify. And I think all the learnings came in through there. But I was wondering if Amazon would be a good fit at some point. Remember, this is probably 2015 or so, 14, 15. And there was still the sentiment that Amazon was really like a lot of cheap stuff. You get the lowest price there. And Amazon has evolved a lot since then. And part of the reason they evolved is they reached out to companies that they wanted to, like they reached out to me, actually. It was amazing. I was still tiny, but they said, hey, like we want to expand our apparel offering, especially on the high price side. Because my stuff, I started at $90. Now it's at 118. So it's, it's a hefty price tag. And so they were interested in carrying products like mine. And so they assigned somebody to me. They created my listings. They set me up on Amazon. And so that started to take off, right? Amazon has been, there's a bit of a love-hate relationship with Amazon, to say the least, but I'm still more love than hate. And, it's been a good source of growth for us. And our customers go back and forth, by the way. We hear that all the time. They deliver fast. They deliver, for a variety of reasons. So there was, channel expansion. There was product expansion. We tried Europe on Amazon. Didn't work. I got to give it another try. I think it was a little bit on the early side in Europe. And then really just focusing on the basics and scaling has been what's happened since then. COVID came along. COVID was good for sleepwear, for online sleepwear brands. Imagine everybody was home and, I just didn't have enough pajamas to sell during COVID. But after COVID, it got a lot more competitive. So, in the grand scheme of things, we're probably at where we are in terms of sales, where we would be without COVID. It's funny, we grew with COVID. The next year wasn't going to be the same, went down a little bit, but now, we've recovered all that and a little bit more back. So
absolutely. Is there anything I didn't ask you about today that you think would resonate with our audience?
Yeah, a couple things. I think a couple things. The first is we are a stickler with quality, because if you're an online business, you're going to live from reviews and you're going to die from reviews. So you can have the wrong sizes at the beginning and you can, have like forgivable mistakes, but quality, you really have to be on your A game on quality. And so we've put a lot of, I think that's one of the elements of success, and our repeat rate is that our quality is really there. And when you look, sometimes you can see on other brands what you track and you see the reviews, and you can see there's quality issues that are in the long run going to hurt them. So for any young entrepreneur thinking about something, make sure you have a plan for quality control in place so that you don't have problems down the road.
Absolutely.
The second is to think about repeat, because that's really where, it's exciting to get a new customer, but it's more exciting when they buy again. And that's where you make more money. So
awesome. Now, if I'm a customer, or if I'm listening to this podcast and I'm curious to check out these high quality products that you're so passionate about, where should I go?
Jijamas.com. It rhymes with pajamas. Jijamas.com. It's how my daughter pronounced it. We're there, and reach out. We're glad to help with anything if needed.
Awesome. We'll make sure to link that stuff in the show notes. Gustavo, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your insights.
Awesome. Thanks to you.
We can't thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their knowledge and journey with us. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our own businesses. You can find all the links in the show notes. You can subscribe to the newsletter at honestecommerce.co to get each episode delivered right into your inbox. If you're enjoying this content, consider leaving a review on iTunes. That really helps us out. Lastly, if you're a store owner looking for an amazing partner to help you get your Shopify store to the next level, reach out to Electric Eye at electriceye.io/connect. Until next time.